What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blitz Podcast Edition. Lou DiBiase here on the microphone alongside Lars Lewis.
What up?
First time you being on a Blitz production in quite some time. Outside of for a half hour every Monday.
Well, that'll change come April once I finally get out of the ice rink.
Right. Lars, everyone always says March is... it's March Madness season. It's time for college basketball. For me, March Madness means a whole different thing, and it's what's going on today and what's going on this week. The NFL league year is officially underway.
Coming from the guy wearing a Mighty Ducks jersey now.
Let the tampering begin. Yeah, I just thought I'd wear something cool. I like to wear a different sports thing every Monday.
You're appeasing me, at least.
Our outfits are rambunctious today. We're going to post a photo of a selfie of us on the pod feed with this episode. You're wearing a brown Coca-Cola jacket that looks... Honestly, Lars, you look like straight out of the 1940s. Like, you look like a wormhole opened up in this production studio, and you just walked right out.
And honestly,
you're in a parallel universe.
And honestly, you look like an extra from D2 of the Mighty Ducks right now.
And I have
you're wearing a Super Bowl 28 snapback.
You got me for Secret Santa. Thank you very much. And I'm wearing non-prescribed glasses now. I look like someone straight out of Slapshot.
No, you look like Squints from the Sandlot with that on. Where's Wendy?
I do. This is a fantastic wardrobe combination right now. But again, this is the Blitz Podcast. If you ever want to subscribe to our podcast, we post weekly on our iTunes feed or on podbean.com. Just type in WBNY Sports. We have our weekly talk show every Monday from 4 to 7 p.m. The Blitz. Today, however, we're going off the air and through the RSS feed, if you will, in the podcasting universe.
The
interwebs. To talk NFL free agency, the wild past week of trades that happened. There were 6 or 7 trades with notable names. 3 of them involved the Cleveland Browns, 1 involving our hometown team, the Buffalo Bills.
A lot of people got snipped, too.
So everyone's trying to get their salary cap figure, all shaped out correctly as free agency starts this Wednesday. So a lot of teams like the Eagles got to get to the cap floor before Wednesday or they're screwed. The teams like the Bills are trying to clear up space to maybe make a run at some free agents. So we got a lot of rumors swirling around on Twitter, and we got a huge free agency class, Lars. One that at first had, the Malcolm Butlers of the world and, Terrell Pryor. Kirk Cousins was the big name because he is the quarterback on the open market. Suddenly, Seattle gets rid of Richard Sherman. He just signed with the 49ers, but before that, he was on the open market. The Dolphins are set to release Ndamukong Suh. Allen Robinson now is not going to... It looks like the Jaguars, they had till today, they held his negotiation rights. It looks like Allen Robinson's going to hit the open market. Sammy Watkins didn't receive the franchise tag in L.A. LaMarcus Joyner did. So that's 2 really young potential star wide receivers. Sammy Watkins is still only 24 years old. I mean, he came into the league at 21, extremely young. Allen Robinson, too, only a couple months older than Calvin Ridley, the Bama receiver that's coming into the draft this year. So you got those two big name receivers coming in. There's talent all around in the free agent pool, and obviously it starts with the quarterbacks, but it's not just at quarterbacks, it's all over the rosters. So teams, it's going to be a wild free agency class. It really
I've never seen an offseason like this.
It's
all of these stars, free agents, getting traded.
Doesn't it feel like an NBA type of offseason, dude? Remember how crazy the summer was in the NBA? It's kind of feeling like the NFL is trying to, the NBA took a step up and everyone's paying attention to the league. Do you think maybe this is an NFL thing? Like the league office is like, hey, we got to make some moves in the offseason to keep the excitement going like the NBA does.
Here's the funny part. Remember last year when Howie Roseman was making all those trades?
Yeah.
Now it has somehow created a chaos effect where now the entire league is trading with each other. Now think about this. All of these years before that, did you ever see any trades? No, they were rare.
It was unheard of to make big trades. You would see a guy get moved for a 6th-round pick here or there, but nobody placed value on trades in the NFL. I tweeted it the other day. Howie Roseman started the trade era of the NFL. The Eagles built a potential dynasty roster through many different facets: free agency, the draft, undrafted free agents, but they made their money through a lot of trades, getting guys like Timmy Jernigan, Jay Ajayi, Ronald Darby.
Jay Ajayi was one of the biggest additions of the trades.
Michael
this
Bennett
year.
now they just traded for this offseason. The NFL almost suddenly realizes, wait, we can make trades, people. And
a league that is as antiquated as they are.
Right.
now finally realizes the trades are a fun thing.
It's awesome. I mean, Jarvis Landry was just Friday alone. In 48 hours, you had the likes of Tyrod Taylor, Michael Bennett, Torrey Smith. The list goes on. Jarvis Landry, Demarius Randall, Deshaun Kaiser. You had all of these different names moving around the league.
You couldn't keep up with it.
Alec Ogletree just signed a big extension with the Rams. He gets dealt over to the Giants, which is very telling for the Bills, and we're going to get into that in a little bit.
Lol.
The first thing I want to talk about, though, here on the podcast, before we talk about free agency, a Bills wish list, what the Tyrod Taylor trade means for the Bills moving up in the draft.
That is just so huge.
So it's a big move. We'll get into that. The first thing I just want to talk about real quick, and we talk a lot about this on the Blitz, is how we talk about philosophy a lot in sport, like sports philosophy. That's like the big thing the Blitz does a lot, whether it's coaching culture, whether it's, how to build a roster.
Mindsets,
exactly. We're not huge X's and O's people. I only played the game of football for about a year and a half, and it was a very low level. I know 6 routes. When I was a wide receiver in freshman year, my route tree had 6 routes. It was a 1-step slant, a 2-step fade, a 3-step slant, a 4-step out, a 5-step curl, and a 7-step out curl.
It all makes sense of all the times we've played football together. Now,
I'm
starting to realize
you probably notice I run like 6 of the same routes.
My God, you're right.
I don't run a hitch and go. I don't not a lot. But if you notice, when next time we play football, if we join a flag football league this summer, you'll notice I have 6 routes that I know well. I do thrive in those.
My mind has been blown.
I rely on my athletic ability to get open.
Oh yeah, you do.
Because I don't know a huge variety of route combinations. But we're not a big X's and O's. We have Marcos Watkins, who starts at right guard for Buffalo State. So he's probably the highest we have when it comes to football talent. On our
probably IQ too.
Right. Jordan Hanskin played offensive guard in high school, but we're just a lot of guys that love talking sports, and mindsets is a big part of that. And
I just throw things hard.
Right. I think we're not Fox Sports where we make up random hot takes, but we have strong opinions, and I think that's what carries us.
Right.
And so a lot of the things we debate about is quarterback versus roster. And we got into it a lot this past offseason because Kirk Cousins is a free agent and he's available. And some teams reportedly, according to Ian Rappaport, the Minnesota is the favorite right now, but New York is still in it, the Jets and the Denver Broncos and even the Arizona Cardinals. Some teams, according to Rappaport, are prepared to give him a 3-year fully guaranteed contract. It's been rumored he wants $30 million a year annually. So some teams are prepared to give Kirk Cousins a $90 million contract.
I heard there was a wild rumor that the Jets want to offer Cousins the first year $60 million.
They might want to give it all to him up front. That's literally probably all their cap space. And it's crazy.
That is so wild.
And it's crazy for a quarterback of Kirk Cousins' talent to give him that much money because I think he's just another guy.
But how if you're Kirk Cousins, could you say no to that?
Right, you probably have to take that deal. And living in New York, I don't feel bad for him.
He could play for that 1 year, retire, and never have to play again.
That's true. It's very true. And, I don't think he's worth it. I think guys like Sam Bradford and Case Keenum and Nick Foles and Tyrod Taylor, maybe they're a little bit worse than Kirk Cousins, but they're very close in tiers.
All right, how about this? Let's break down tiers for quarterbacks.
All right.
Let's go to the top tier. We're talking the top of the chain. There's 3 or 4 guys. You got Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
You've got Tom Brady, and you've got...
I'd throw Carson Wentz in there now. Drew Brees, obviously.
I'll put Drew Brees there. I think I put Wentz on the tier right below them.
The second tier would probably be Carson Wentz, Cam Newton,
right,
Matt Ryan.
Carson's only played 2 years.
Right.
You got to build that reputation.
He did almost win MVP, though. That's why I would give him the second tier instead of the third.
Now, Cam Newton did win MVP.
And I still think he's in the second tier. He had a very good season this past year. He went kind of under the radar.
This is why I'm going to put Carson there, because he's only been in the league 2 years.
Yeah.
Those guys that are in that top tier, they've been doing it for a long time.
Right.
Once Wentz gets to that year 5 and he's already got an MVP under his belt, then I'll probably put him up there.
Okay. Who else would be in that tier?
First.
I mean, either way, though, we would say Kirk Cousins maybe falls at the low
he's like
end
the
of that
third
tier.
Or fourth tier.
He's right in the middle. He's in the Alex Smith range, honestly. He's in the Andy Dalton, we call it the Dalton scale a lot because Andy Dalton's kind of that smack dab in the middle, 16th ranked quarterback, and I think he's just another
Cousins
guy
is like 14.
Right. We talk a lot about, does a team like Jacksonville, who has this strong defensive core, do they want to pay a guy like Kirk Cousins? No, they shouldn't, because they want to keep that defensive core intact.
And sign Bortles.
The thing is, though,
why?
Right. The thing is, though, and they prioritize their entire roster. They prioritize defense and being able to maintain that elite defense. The thing is, though, let's look at Seattle. I don't agree with paying Kirk Cousins that kind of money, but eventually it makes more sense to try to pay that one position that can hold down your team's contention status for a longer period of time than a strong defense will. Teams like Minnesota and Jacksonville should look at Denver and Seattle as examples for why, yeah, you can build a strong defense, and the Eagles did it too. But when the Eagles eventually lose all these players, they have the quarterback position intact. They have it locked down to keep them in playoff contention every single year. A team like Seattle is an example. They should look to say, okay, we can do what they did, and we can be an elite defense for 5-6 years, win a championship.
Which they have, and they did.
We'd have a decent sized window, win a title, maybe get to one, or consistently make the playoffs through that time.
You've got the quarterback situation taken care of with Russell Wilson.
The shelf life, though, for just an elite defense, if you don't get the quarterback position intact, the shelf life for your contender status is probably around what Seattle was, and that's
5 to 7 year range.
The great thing for Seattle is they can lessen the blow of losing Michael Bennett, Richard Sherman, potentially Cam Chancellor, and Cliff Averill, maybe Earl Thomas if they don't retain him. I know they're open to trading him. They do want him to be a part of that defensive core still, the next regime.
They have to draft.
Right. They're going to be able to bounce back quicker because they have the quarterback position locked down. They paid Russell Wilson his big contract, and as a result of that, they're going to lose this defense. But even without Russell Wilson, odds are that defense wasn't going to be able to stick together that long. They were
getting older too.
Right. It's easier to pay one guy than it is to pay 8 or 9. And it's not sustainable. And so Jacksonville and Minnesota, you got to look at that. And I understand they look like, Minnesota looks like they want to pay a quarterback that kind of money. So when they, who's saying we're not saying they're going to lose Anthony Barr and they're going to lose Eric Kendricks and Xavier Rhodes and Harrison Smith. But eventually you just can't keep all of them forever.
Most of them are on rookie deals.
A lot of them are on rookie deals. You have them on, with the new contract format back in the last lockout, the last CBA agreement. Rookies get cheaper deals now. You get them for longer. You have the 5th-year option ability to place on a player if he's a first-round pick. So, to me, you got to see what Seattle's doing. You got to see what Denver's doing now without a quarterback. That defensive core, their shelf life, again, was from 2011-ish to 2017, a 6-year window, and that's it. And would you rather have that, or would you rather have the Packers window, which is, 18 years because they've had the quarterback position downright? How strong is the Packers roster without Aaron Rodgers?
18? Let's go even further than that.
Even further, right?
Let's go 24 when Brett Favre came in.
That's what I mean. I'm so from Favre to Rodgers on, that's been the Packers window, and they haven't skipped a beat since. They've only been to one Super Bowl. They did win a championship, but every single year you can count on them being in contention.
Right.
Whereas if you don't have that quarterback locked down, eventually you're going to have to redo.
I think Green Bay is a bit of a different situation because of how they operate as a franchise.
No, I agree with that, but even the Patriots, I know that it's very odd. You're not going to find the GOAT of a head coach and the GOAT of a quarterback on the same roster again. It's such a unique situation. But look at all the turnover the Patriots have had on their roster from their first championship to now. It's not a Patriots dynasty. It's a Brady Belichick dynasty. Because there's no one ever is the same. Look at the defense that was on the field against the Eagles this past Super Bowl. There was Malcolm Butler returning from the last Super Bowl, and there
didn't even play.
Yeah, there was Devin McCourty. Devin McCourty was the only starter that played, or Devin McCourty and Patrick Chung were the only two guys that had significant roles on the Super Bowl roster.
Yeah, Stephon Gilmore.
You added Stephon Gilmore. Donta Hightower is gone. You traded away Jamie Collins. You let Chandler Jones go. You traded away Chandler Jones. You had all this money, and they didn't use it. But again, that one position, it's a lot easier to maintain success when you have that position down. That's why you always have to prioritize quarterback. I'm very concerned for a team like Minnesota that's going to prioritize the wrong quarterback. They're going to pay a guy like Kirk Cousins, $30 million a year, and that's going to kill you when you can't pay your defense. If you're going to do that for a quarterback, it's got to be the right one. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you agree, but Kirk Cousins just isn't the right one to me.
No.
He just seems like he's just another guy. I saw him live last year in Philadelphia, and you watch Carson Wentz play, and then you see him, and it's like, that's a guy that you can build a roster around and win championships with for 10, 15 years. And Kirk Cousins is just not.
And that's why you were so adamant on having Minnesota retain Teddy Bridgewater.
Because I think he can turn into that star, and he's still a rookie. And you have the ability to place a fifth-year option on him. And he's cheap because you're going to get him on a prove-it deal because of his injury. Mm-hmm. It's... Seattle,
you know what they're doing?
Yeah.
They see the Lombardi right in front of them.
No,
they're going to try to do anything to get it.
And I understand that. Like, that's what the Eagles are doing.
The team's never won one.
Right. The Eagles are going for it. The Eagles have stacked their roster they're going to be in championship contention for another, and they have a lot of the guys locked up. They have the highest payroll in the NFL. They're going to be in contention for another four years. The thing is, though, eventually these contracts are going to run out, and you can't pay everyone, and Wentz's contract extension is coming up. But the thing is, they drafted really well. They have all this young talent to take over when the older guys leave, and you have a quarterback.
Roseman's going to make more moves.
Right, and that's the thing. Like Seattle, you got to look at Seattle and be like, we have to make sure we can continue our success when we eventually lose all those guys, because can the Jaguars keep Ramsey and Ngwaku and maybe Malik Jackson and Telvin Smith? Sure, but are you going to be able to also keep Miles Jack and Marcel Darius and AJ Bouye? Like you just can't pay 11 guys elite money. It's just not possible. It's not the NBA where an owner can pay the luxury tax every single year and get away with it, and you're also paying 53 players as opposed to 15. So I just wanted to, before we get into it, just teams got to look at Seattle and be like, we got to make sure we can absorb a blow like that, because Lars, they lost everybody. Sheldon Richardson's going to be gone, Cliff Averill, Cam Chancellor, Richard Sherman. Were you surprised he signed with San Fran?
That quick.
I was very surprised.
Hey, think about it. He played at Stanford. Santa Clara is right by
That's
Palo
true.
Alto.
That's a great point.
He went back home.
Right. And the Niners are an upcoming team. They won 5 straight last year. So I understand.
Imagine this chaos effect all because Jimmy G started balling once the Niners got there. Then the Rams were like, we need all these quarterbacks.
The other thing with this, too...
I thought that was just kind of funny.
But before we move on from Seattle, and this is more...
We've been talking about Seattle for a while. Let's move on.
The Michael Bennett thing, it's not just a Michael Bennett thing, it's an NFL thing. There's reports that coaches grew stale with Bennett in the locker room. I've seen from a lot of players that he was a great teammate, and that he, it's not a character issue. And I go back to the Jay Ajayi thing.
He is a little bit of a loose cannon.
I know he is. I mean,
look at the Carolina situation last year.
Yeah.
That did not end well.
I understand that, but, people try to... there's a difference between that kind of stuff and an actual character concern. And I look at the guys like Jay Ajayi that are getting dealt for just 4th-round picks because simply coaches don't like their guys. And I think it's ridiculous. And a team like the Eagles, take note. They're just taking all the talented players that these teams are like, they're not my guy. They're kind of annoying in the locker room. Like, fine, we'll take Michael Bennett, who had 8.5 sacks last year, to go with Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham.
Give me Jay Ajayi that he actually has an actual offensive line.
Here, take a 4th-round pick, which is no lock to be anything. We'll take a consistent running back who's shown he can throw off 200-yard rushing games back to back.
That's Rex Ryan's defense.
It's just,
I digress.
The NFL, I'm over that. Go ahead, if you're going to keep trading talented people for mid picks. I'm starting to call BS on coaches, honestly. Well, I don't really believe coaches anymore when they say this guy was a problem, because a lot of times coaches are so egocentric that I don't know if you're not the problem.
If it's like an Alden Smith situation,
right.
Yeah, that's one thing.
Yeah.
Where the guy just keeps getting into trouble and he's getting arrested. That's not on the coaches. That's just him being a dumbass.
I mean, Lars, look at Adam Gase and what's happening with the Miami Dolphins.
Miami is an absolute mess.
They traded away Jarvis Landry. Listen, Gase last offseason said, there are 3 hotheads on this team. Myself, Jarvis Landry, and Jay Ajayi. Who's left standing right now on that team?
Adam Gase.
Now I'll take you back, and I hate to keep comparing it to the Eagles, but it's what I know. It's what I do. Chip Kelly, the Chip Kelly era. Who are the big personalities on that team? Chip Kelly, Deshaun Jackson, LaShawn McCoy. After the 2014 season, who was left?
Chip.
Miami, I'm so sorry because I went through this.
They're going to Chip Kelly
I went through
route.
this, and I'm really sorry. And look, individually, if you put them in a vacuum, trading away Jarvis Landry, it makes sense. You don't want to overpay for a slot receiver that really can't play on the outside. Has he produced huge numbers? Absolutely.
And your quarterback situation is an absolute mess.
You're only so limited. Exactly, and you have Devontae Parker on the outside. You don't want to pay if you're going to pay a receiver $16 million. I want him to be able to do more.
You pay the outside
routes. You know what I'm saying? Jarvis Landry is a really good player. He's one of the best. He's a dirty player, but he's a really good player. Yeah, he's a really good receiver, but he's limited. He really is, and I know he'll put up equal numbers to what Mike Evans is doing on the outside in the slot. But it's just you have a different impact when you can play deep. Landry can do one thing really well. I want a receiver that can do that, but can thrive on the outside.
Alshon.
That can win one-on-one matchups, like an Alshon Jeffrey or an Allen Robinson, who we're going to talk about.
Thing is, there's so few of those guys.
Yeah. So you put the Landry thing in a vacuum. That makes sense. You put the Ajayi thing in a vacuum. He's got knee issues. His contract's up next year. You like Kenyon Drake. You don't want to pay Ajayi. That makes sense. But those were, to me, Lars, those weren't the reasons that Gase moved them. It was because of an ego thing. It was a personality thing. It was a Chip Kelly thing. And that's what Gase is doing. And Miami is becoming... I think they're
tearing themselves apart.
They were an extremely talented offense, and it looks like they're going to be really bad soon for a while. And Gase might outrun himself out of town.
Here's the funny thing. In the last 2 years, now remember when they came out with the season previews?
Yeah.
The last 2 seasons, everyone was hyping up Miami.
Always.
Saying, here comes the Dolphins.
Haven't they been hyped up since 2012?
Yes, I have seen this for the last 3 to 4 years. That team is fundamentally flawed.
Right.
You know why? Because, one, their quarterback situation has never been settled ever since Marino left. Yeah, Tannehill is good, but I think he's even under Kirk Cousins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he'll put up numbers, but how much impact does he have on a game?
Right.
Can he win you a game? That's what I look at. Number 2, they signed Ndamukong to a ton of money.
A huge contract.
Threw a crap load of money at him and also at Cameron Wake. And you got Jarvis Landry, who, yes, is talented, a great slot receiver, but he's a hothead. And then you got Devontae Parker, who is very talented, but he gets hurt a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And just your offensive line was in shambles. They've been in shambles the last 3 to 5 years.
Yep.
I just don't know what anybody was seeing in this team.
Mm-hmm.
They're bad. That last year in 2016 was a fluke. In the last 8 games they had, they didn't play anybody with a winning record.
Right.
Nobody. And they managed to squeak by 6 out of those 8 games, and they backdoored into the playoffs, and then they got the crap beat out of them by the Steelers like they deserved.
And who were the 2 players really keeping them in those games on offense? It was
Jay Ajayi and Jarvis Landry.
And it's the 2 guys Gase moved out.
Yep.
And as good as a promising young coach that Adam Gase is offensively, he made Jay Cutler work, which is huge because I don't think Jay Cutler's worked with anybody. And he had saying he made Jay Cutler work only. It's not he's Tom Brady.
Last year was a freak thing because of what happened to Tannehill.
So Gase has made a lot of quarterbacks thrive under him, but he's got Chip Kelly to me all written all over him, where he's got one real good year and the ego builds up, and he can't deal with personalities in the NFL, and that's a huge detriment to a team if a head coach cannot deal with talented, big personalities.
I'm going to make a bold prediction.
Yeah.
Gase doesn't last after this year.
I don't think so either.
He's gone. And Miami, after he's gone, has got a lot of work to do to get back.
Fine. If a guy is such a cancer in the locker room that players can't stand to be around him, okay, if he's getting into trouble off the field, getting suspended, being arrested, it makes sense. But there's a difference between big personality and character concern. And I'm telling you, Jay Ajayi, everyone talked him up in the Eagles locker room after they traded for him. He was a great teammate. He rotated with 2 other running backs.
It's pretty funny how toxic the Miami situation is.
That's what I'm saying.
And then Ajayi goes to Philly.
He goes to a better culture, right? Yes. Gase doesn't want him because of his culture.
Peterson embraced him.
Ajayi goes to a team that apparently has a sound locker room and nothing happens. So maybe the problem isn't Ajayi or Landry. Let's turn it around on the coaches. It's never turned around enough on the coaches. And I feel like I talk about this all the time because I'm leading this campaign of saying, let's look at the institution instead. You're a Bernie supporter. You know this of all. Let's turn it around and start looking. Maybe you're the problem, Adam Gase. And Ndamukong Suh's gone today, and it's a purge of talent on Miami.
This is also what happens when you have 11 owners on a team.
Absolutely. That too. So the Dolphin situation's interesting.
They're going to be bad.
They're going to be very bad.
They're going to be bad the next 5 years.
But Gase came out and said Tannehill's his quarterback this year. Do you think they draft a quarterback in the first round?
No.
That'd be a huge mistake, right? Because they could get a Josh Allen, a Lamar Jackson.
This is Miami.
Miami's becoming...
You wonder why the Patriots have been so good for 17 years. You look at how chaotic Miami is. You look at the Jets and how much of a mess they are. The Bills hadn't made the playoffs since the start of the millennium, and they finally got in last year. No wonder why Tom Brady's been so good for so long. He's had to face the Washington Generals of the divisions of the NFL for the last 17 years.
Why doesn't Miami get more criticism for being such a chaotic team? I mean, obviously they're not going 0-16 like Cleveland, and they're
always stuck in the middle.
Like you said, they made the playoffs one time, but they are a horrible front office, and it wasn't just Gase. It was Jeff Ireland. It was Tannenbaum.
Hell, they have remember the incognito Jonathan Martin situation?
Yes, they have always been an incompetent front office from the entire 21st century.
Not even that. Let's go even further than that. Let's go back to even the 80s, like after, shall we say, the Marx brothers left, the wide receivers for Dan Marino. Did they ever give Dan Marino a running back? No. Did they ever give Dan Marino a defense? No.
Did they ever give him anything?
No.
So
this is how incompetent the Dolphins franchise has been since the 80s.
Ndamukong Suh is now going to hit the open market. That's another talented player in the open market.
He basically did nothing.
Right. So
he didn't. He's a great player, but he did nothing to help this team get to the level they thought they were going to be.
And he's a defensive tackle. They can only take you so far, you know?
Yeah.
Paying Ndamukong Suh quarterback money, it was insane from the start. We all knew that.
Yeah.
He was never going to be able to live up to that money. A defensive tackle just can't make that big of an impact.
I saw that deal and I laughed. Yeah. I'm like, really? Really?
Speaking of deals, the Buffalo Bills, they made a move. They traded quarterback Tyrod Taylor, as we expected, to the Cleveland Browns.
I didn't expect this haul.
For a third-round pick, which is, I think, first overall in the third round. So it's a very high... It's the highest you can get. It's the best third-round pick you can get. And
it's basically second round.
Look, they free up $10.5 million in cap space. The Bills currently are sitting at $32 million.
And the $6 million bonus Cleveland ate, too.
Cleveland eats the $6 million bonus. You know, look... A lot of the national media right now, you were showing me a tweet from Bucky Brooks earlier comparing Tyrod to, because there's reports now that the Bills are interested in Sam Bradford. They could be interested in Case Keenum. Keenum doesn't make as much sense because I think they're looking for a bridge guy, and I think Keenum
wants money.
Wants a big $20+ million contract.
Someone's going to give
multiple years. Someone's going to give it to him.
Someone's going to be dumb enough to do it.
Probably Denver, maybe Arizona, but somebody's going to give it to him.
Hasn't stopped John Elway before.
Yeah, so somebody's going to give it to him. I don't think it's going to be the Bills, but because the reports are the Bills are now looking for a replacement for Taylor,
that is not their direction.
The ignorant national media isn't really looking at this and look at all the draft picks they're collecting. Look what position they just moved. They moved Tyrod Taylor, the quarterback, them knowing we probably we're not going to need him.
Because all they look at is numbers. They don't look at how he plays.
So they're trying to make this a... Look, we talked about stereotypes with Lamar Jackson. We've been talking about it for a couple of weeks now. They're trying to make that spin on this for Tyrod Taylor, and it simply isn't fair. Look, Tyrod Taylor is... He's a great athlete. And I don't think this about Lamar Jackson, but... It's fair to say Tyrod Taylor is a limited passer.
Did he get much of a fair shake here? I would say no, because
he didn't. No, he didn't.
The two look. First 2 years, he had Rex Ryan as his head coach, and Rex Ryan stuck in the 50s. That's never QB
friendly, right? Your offense looked like it came out at the same time as your Coca-Cola jacket.
You're actually right. Very accurate. And then in 2017, you got Sean McDermott, and then you have Rick Dennison as your offensive coordinator.
You never had a QB-friendly offense, right? And you never had good weapons. I understand that Robert Woods thrived with the Rams last year, and Goodwin just got paid in San Fran, and Sammy Watkins had 8 touchdowns last year with the Rams. But I
don't know how, because they never threw him the ball.
Let's be real with what those weapons actually were. Goodwin could never stay on the field, and when he did, he was losing snaps to Greg Salas. Greg Sales. I don't even know the guy's name.
Salas, you're right.
Exactly. Robert Woods, me, more is a product of incredible amount of weapons with the Rams, and Sean McVay just making every receiver in his offense ever thrive. Look at Deshaun Jackson, Pierre Garçon, Jamison Crowder, Cooper Kupp. Everyone thrives in that offense. And Sammy Watkins could never stay healthy. So Taylor didn't get a fair shake in Buffalo. That doesn't mean it's not his fault. Even with all of that talent, and Cleveland's going to see it, he's still going to be a limited passer with Josh Gordon and Jarvis Landry. He's going to be. But with a Saquon Barkley in the backfield, with a Landry in the slot, Corey Coleman and Josh Gordon on the outside, talented offensive lineman.
I want to go.
Or a talented lineman, Joe Thomas. Right? That's probably it.
I think
offensive line used to be really good.
Year.
It's come down quite a bit, but they have a lot of draft picks
and the cap room.
And a lot of cap room to make moves in free agency. And with Landry now and Taylor, you can probably make the pitch to free agents to come to Cleveland. So
this is going to be super bold. The Browns could be in the playoffs.
They could be. They could be a playoff contender. Absolutely. I don't think it's that bold.
This is how fast they can turn this around.
However, they're going to see he is very limited as a quarterback.
Yeah.
Just go look at all 22 guys. Look at cover one and everyone that actually watches film and the tape, and you'll see. The national media keeps saying the Bills fans don't think Taylor's a talented player, and they'll show the incredible Ravens play, or they'll show the one play every 4 weeks where he extends a play and makes an incredible pass down the field.
We're not denying the man's raw talent.
You gotta watch the amount of missed throws that are his fault.
Mm-hmm.
And again, he didn't get a fair shake, as fair as it will be in Cleveland. They never set him up to succeed, but it's still, you can see in the tape the traits. It was talented enough to where he had opportunities, and you could see him miss those opportunities.
And let's also make something very clear. He threw for what?
Right.
93 yards against the Jaguars
in
the playoff game. That alone should say, we can't do this. We can't do this again.
It's unfair that the national media is comparing him to these other bridge quarterbacks. It's totally dumb because, I think they're wrong. I think Sam Bradford... you know me. I'm Sam Bradford's biggest critic. And I think Sam Bradford is a extremely... he's a much better passer than Tyrod Taylor is. There's no comparison. And I don't like Sam Bradford as a quarterback. I love quarterbacks like Tyrod Taylor, the mobile quarterbacks.
Tyrod can only throw certain routes.
But Sam Bradford is on another level when it comes to passing the football. And the national media saying Taylor... they're probably in the same tier. But if we're just talking passing-wise, Bradford... the Bills were the 32nd ranked passing team last year.
They were 31st the year before.
Sam Bradford is a big step up. And also, they're missing the point. None of these guys matter. None of it matters.
Nothing.
Even if they bring in Sam Bradford, hell, if they bring in A.J. McCarron or Mike Glennon, Josh McCown, it doesn't matter.
They're not looking
None
at
of it
what
matters.
Buffalo is trying to do.
The national media is trying to make it look like these guys are who the Bills want long term. They're making a run with Sam Bradford. They want them to be their guy. It's more... Okay, Tyrod Taylor's here. He's 1A. Sam Bradford's 1B. Do we want 1B and a third-round pick? Or do we want just Tyrod Taylor? That's the point. Is the draft pick? They can get the same value in a Sam Bradford that they got for Tyrod Taylor, and they get a third-round pick.
They would have never made this trade then if they honestly wanted to get the same kind of production from Sam Bradford as they would of Tyrod Taylor. Because to be honest with you, I think they're the same guy. I think Sam Bradford obviously is a better passer, but Tyrod offers you the legs, which he gets a lot of first downs with his legs, and which Sam Bradford obviously doesn't. Look, let's make something very clear, and I want to tell this to everybody in the national media, for people that... Look, I understand you don't follow the Bills very much. The Bills have made one playoff appearance since 1999. The Bills are stuck in what I call the Siberia of the NFL in Buffalo. They are the only team in the state of New York that actually has a football team. That's a fact. Anyway, the Bills, the reason why they're making all of these trades, they're getting all of these draft picks, is for a very simple reason. They're not going after Sam Bradford. They're not going after Case Keenum. They're not going after insert bridge quarterback here.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
They want... Right now, Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott have an idea of what they want. They're looking for the next 10-year guy.
Yep.
They're not looking for a 3 to 5 year guy. They're not ready to win the Super Bowl right now.
Yeah.
They know they can't. This is why they're making all these trades, because they want one man, and they want one man only, and that comes from the draft. And we don't know exactly who that is, but with that trade, getting that third-round pick, I know what Brandon Beane's going to use it for, and I know exactly what he's going to do with it. He's going after Josh Rosen.
And all they need is a quarterback to play for 1 year And not even, though. Because if they get a Josh Rosen, I'm a big proponent of start the rookie, let him play.
Just get an insurance guy. So Josh McCown, 1 year, $7 million. 1 year, $8 million.
Right.
That's all he's looking for at this point. He's 38 years old, and he can still play.
He's basically a player coach. He's probably a better passer than he is a better passer than Tyrod Taylor.
Look at Josh McCown's numbers last year with the Jets. Look at what he had to work with the Jets, and the guy was fantastic.
So it's not if you need a bridge guy, why don't you just keep Tyrod? Because you're getting the first overall pick in the 3rd round, and you can have that pick and a quarterback just as good as Taylor, and it doesn't even matter because it's for the other guy. It's to collect another 3rd round pick, so when they want to move up to the pick with the Giants or the Colts, or say they just move in the mid-round to get a Lamar Jackson or a Josh Allen or a Baker Mayfield, they have more picks to build around that young quarterback, or they can use those picks to help get the quarterback himself. That's the whole point of this. And when you have a quarterback that's not going to be on your team for more than a year, a 3rd round pick is great value for Tyrod Taylor. I'm very surprised, Lars, that the Browns made the move, because the Browns also are going to use Tyrod Taylor as a bridge quarterback, because now, although this opens,
I think it may be strictly as an insurance policy.
Right. It opens them up to not draft a quarterback first overall, because now that they have a bridge guy, I think they probably have the thought process of, okay, now we can take Saquon Barkley first overall, have him entrenched at running back for the future.
And they still got a crack at getting Sam Darnold.
Right, we have the 4th overall pick, and even if they don't get one of the first two, they're reportedly in love with Baker Mayfield, and they really like Josh Allen too, so maybe the Browns say, hey, all 4 of the quarterbacks that are available, we don't care which one we get. We know we're going to get one at 4. So let's get a quarterback now to help out one of the more raw prospects, and let's get Tyrod Taylor in here, and let's collect,
Tyrod's been a starter for 4 years.
Granted, though, it is still even with that thought process, which I like for the Browns, it's a very expensive bridge quarterback. A 3rd round pick, they do have a lot of draft compensation still, but that's a pretty substantial pick for Tyrod Taylor.
I think they did offer a lot, but I think they also looked at the free agent class and should we go after one of these guys, or should we go after Tyrod's still only 28 years old?
Yeah, and he's cheaper.
Yeah, look, you get a 1 year.
His cap hit's a lot lower.
Yeah, you get a 1 year deal. You eat the $6 million bonus. Look, that's just cash.
Yeah.
The whole point is the cap room, and he's only holding up 10.5.
Yeah.
That's super cheap for a guy you can start for a year. And if you get a Josh Allen or even Sam Darnold, which I think they should get Sam Darnold, he's better than Mayfield or Allen.
Yeah.
I think he's more NFL ready.
Would you rather have Darnold or Barkley and Allen?
Give me Darnold and Barkley.
I don't know if you're getting Barkley though. If at 4.
No, I'm saying you're getting Barkley then Darnold.
I understand. Yeah.
Because Darnold's not going to the Colts. They're not going to draft him.
That's also the point. The Browns are like, we don't really care if we don't get Darnold or Rosen, but we still have a shot, because if we don't take one at 1, the Giants and or Colts could trade out. But if, say, the Giants want a quarterback and the Colts don't want to trade out, we could still get Darnold or Rosen at pick 4 and land right in our lap. It's a risk they're probably willing to take because they just don't see a huge gap. Right, they don't see a huge gap in the quarterback prospects.
Right. And I think that's a brilliant move. They need to get Barkley at number 1. And I think this is a good move for them. Is it a bit pricey? I think so. But they have enough cap. They have enough draft picks. They've still got a ton of cap space. I think it's the right move. Because then at least, if something happens with any of the prospects this year, you got Tyrod Taylor that can hold it down for 1 year until the guy's either ready, or if someone gets hurt this year, then you have Taylor then.
Right.
I think it's a good move for them, and it's a tremendous move for the Bills.
Absolutely. The trade is big for the Bills. It's another pick, because they're going to need draft picks, especially if they give up a lot of them to move up. They're going to need these 3rd round picks to to get guys, to get a better to more receivers, another pass rusher.
It can also lessen the price of giving up a first next year.
That's a good point. Yeah, instead of giving up, both first this year and a first next year, perhaps they could
do package that 3rd.
2 firsts, a second, and a 3rd this year. You still have a 2nd and a 3rd round pick this year to use, and a quarterback.
Exactly.
So it's just another pick that gives them options.
So
if they don't want to use it in the trade, they can use it to get a player after you traded out a lot of your first round picks. So you're going to need those 2nds and 3rds. So having another one just helps.
And with the Giants, they do need offensive line help. You can throw Cordy Glenn in there. And you know what you can do with this money that was taken by the Browns?
Yeah.
even if you have to eat some of the Cordy Glenn contract to get him to the Giants, you can do that now.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, trading Cordy Glenn, he's not your highest cap figure right now.
Right.
It would be huge to trade Cordy Glenn away because, say, right now the Bills are sitting at around $32 million in open cap space.
Yeah, you can eat some of that.
You trade Glenn away, you save about $4.5 million.
Right.
So you're at almost $40 million in cap space. You can go after some of these big name free agents, which also gives you options. So say you have to give up all these draft picks to get a quarterback. Now you got all this money in free agency. Hell, we don't need that second and third because we can go sign an Allen Robinson and a pass rusher. You know what I'm saying? Or they're not going to pay Ndamukong Suh, but we could get a big name free agent and help build the roster around this quarterback. I think it's a great move for the Bills. It frees up cap space, getting rid of Tyrod. He wasn't the long-term solution anyway. It's a high pick for Taylor. I think getting a first overall pick in the third round, that's great value.
That's amazing.
The other thing this helps with, not only does it get another trade.
And Jimmy G was what, a second round?
Yeah, Jimmy G was a second round pick.
Wow.
The thing here, what trading Taylor to the Browns does too, it pushes Cleveland more towards taking Barkley at 1 with Allen or Mayfield at 4. That then takes Barkley away from New York. So it's either for the Giants, it's do we really like Rosen or Darnold, or should we trade out? So it takes away that third option for them, which is, hey, let's take Saquon Barkley. I don't think they're going to take a guard in the second overall, which is what they're rumored to do. No. But maybe they see that now, and they see Michael Bennett going to the Eagles. They're like, holy crap, we need protection now. So, now it's either it takes away that third option. It's do we want a quarterback or should we move out? So
the Giants need
the Bills the Bills helped push a 2-option scenario for the Giants instead of a 3 by moving Taylor to the Browns because it helps the Browns then look at a Saquon Barkley. So this trade does a number of different things that help the Bills, and that's another one. The other thing that helps with is if the Browns would take a quarterback at 1, the Bills can jump ahead of them at 3 with the Colts and get a Darnold or Rosen still.
You could trade Glenn.
You know what I'm saying?
Colts.
So say now that you can't get to pick 2 because the Giants want Darnold. You can now. There's a better shot of you being able to jump up at 3 to get a Darnold or Rosen.
Who's the head coach of the Colts? Frank Reich. That's another.
So
add another scenario to that.
It's a great trade for the Bills. I think it's a good trade for the Browns too. It's a little pricey, but they have a lot of draft picks.
Yeah,
I've
already said that.
They've had so many draft picks in the past anyway. They had 3 first-round draft picks last year. They don't need. There's only so many picks you can have.
Right.
There's only so many rookie
They're
contracts
starting to
have.
cash now.
Right. So it's a great move. And the other scenario is I really still like Lamar Jackson. You know that.
Yeah.
So maybe the Bills wanted. Still
I like
take a guy.
him too. Maybe if Josh Allen, not Josh Allen. If Josh Rosen is there,
I like what you said. He's the golden goose.
He's the golden goose.
But again, having another
he's the
pick,
Rosen one.
Maybe you want to the Rosen one. I like that. Yeah, if you do still want to get a Lamar or a Mayfield, maybe in the middle of the first round, or outside the top 5, it's just another pick to help you. Instead of having to give up a first and a second, you have this first overall in the third round, which is really, really good value.
Can I just one quick point before we move on? Remember you were talking about culture in locker room.
Absolutely.
I think Sean McDermott's the perfect guy for this team.
Yeah.
With what the direction they want to go in, along with Bean. I like McDermott more and more, and I'm loving Bean more and more.
I really like
there's an actual direction.
Right.
Buffalo hasn't had a direction in years. It was just throw duct tape on a sinking boat, see what happens.
Right.
See if it stays afloat.
McDermott at first, he's I'm kind of turned off by culture guys sometimes because I don't want them to prioritize that over talent a lot. To me, culture should be I can embrace a Martavis Bryant because I know my culture is sound enough where he'll thrive. And the Bills, McDermott was confident in that. That's why the Bills tried trading for
Bean's
Martavis
handling
Bryant.
the talent, McDermott's handling the culture.
I was at first a little skeptical that maybe McDermott, because culture is so sacred to him that he would be scared to take risks on guys like that. But you're right. He has shown that maybe he is willing to take risks on guys, and I think it's a great sign for the Bills. All right, Lars. So we talked Bills trading, but let's get into the thing they got to do before the draft, and that's the free agent period, which begins this Monday, the official league year is now underway.
Free agents.
The tampering season is officially underway. Let's call some players up. It's Monday. We're going to hear a lot of rumors on Twitter today. I'll be on the feed all day. Lars, I eat this stuff up. Honestly,
I can tell. You look like a kid in a candy store.
I love the regular season. I'm not going to say I like the offseason more than the regular season, but as a media guy, as a radio host, there's a lot more content
and
to talk
also your
about.
favorite team is the Super Bowl champion.
That too. So it makes it more fun, but I live to speculate, and it's speculation season. I love this. It's all question marks. None of it's real. There's no weight to any of this, and that's what I love about it. During the season, I'll be like, man, what the hell am I going to talk about? These games happen. Everyone's like, all these games happen. What do you mean? What are you going to talk about? I'm like, yeah, but it's just playing. Like, ooh, let's recap the game. I eat this stuff up. Where is this guy going to go? Trade scenarios. It's awesome.
You know what they are? Ideas.
And that's what I love about sports radio. I want to be thought-provoking. I think that's the key, is just get people thinking. And there's just so many scenarios and there's so many ideas in the offseason because it's team building, and I love that. I'm more of a GM type. That's why I love fantasy football so much.
Especially now because of what happened with Roseman.
Exactly.
And it's basically created
and there's just a whole new area of team building now that we can dive into, and it started a new era, and it's just more for us to talk about. I'm more of a GM guy. I like the salary cap stuff. I like free agency and the draft. I'm more of a GM guy than a head coach. That's just me. I'm X's and O's are cool. I can appreciate them. I love the guys that give me insight on that. But I'm more of the personnel. I love it. I eat it up, Lars. If I could be a GM in the NFL, that's my second dream outside of being a sports radio host.
Well, let's do it to it, baby. Let's go.
All right, let's do it. Let's do some free agent wish lists. Let's make our own little wish list here for the Buffalo Bills.
Let's see.
Currently,
hang on,
as he grabs a pen.
Dear Santa.
let's write Santa a little list. Christmas in March. What gifts do we want the Bills to? What goodies do we want the Bills to bring in for us in 2018?
What I want for Christmas.
I want
the
Rosen one.
The Rosen one.
That's my number one. Now let's go into free agency. We know we want a quarterback. That's the big one. That's the golden goose. The Bills currently stand at $32 million in salary cap space. The highest guy they're paying right now is Cordy Glenn. But honestly, Lars, they're probably going to move Glenn.
I want Cordy Glenn to go to the Giants.
There we go. That's the first one. Let's say that happens. The Bills have $39.7 million in salary cap. The highest guy they would be paying is Jerry Hughes at $10 million. One guy in double digits. That's a great situation for the Bills because there are some real interesting prospects in this free agent period. The guy I want to talk about first, it's Allen Robinson, the wide receiver from the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I want
Allen
Robinson.
We got to mail this to Santa right after because we got 2 days. Lars, want to make a quick trip to the North Pole?
Yes.
We got to get there quick.
Yeah, before it melts.
We'll take your time machine. I feel like you can teleport. Is there a way to do it without moving in time? Can we just move to in space?
That's a separate pod.
that's the sci-fi pod. Is discussing space-time.
Okay, so
dimensional traveling.
So here's Lars's Christmas list. I want the Rosen one. I want Cordy Glenn to go to the Giants.
Okay.
I want Allen Robinson.
Yep.
Because now we have the cap space to do it. And
any other free agents?
I want any right guard.
Okay. And there's some good ones. There are some good ones in the open market. Norwell from New York
can then be expendable.
Or Norwell from Carolina, excuse me.
Mm-hmm. So I want a right guard.
I think they'll do that.
So Rosen doesn't get killed.
The good thing is, salary cap space, by the way, is also very overstated.
Overstated?
Yeah.
Overrated?
It's overrated because
there's
so many ways to get around it. You can very overrated as Paul's Donuts. That's my most
a pod in itself.
That's my most unpopular take on Twitter. I never got so much backlash from the Buffalo. While I was on Twitter, I'm an Eagles fan, but I work in Buffalo media, so I appeal to two different fan bases. But the Bills people come at me more because Buffalo, the Philadelphia market, they love the sports takes. Buffalo eats up the shenanigans. Buffalo is a shenanigan city. That's why you hear on
Have you not seen people put each other through tables during the season?
That's why you hear on WBNY and WGR and the sports stations, They love doing drafts, candy drafts and cereal drafts. And my most unpopular take in Western New York is that Paul's Donuts is overrated. It is. It simply is disgusting.
I just think they fill too much in their donuts.
It's awful. You're the only person that agrees with me. You take a bite out of it.
I think honestly, it's good. I love their donuts, but I just think...
I feel like I'm going to throw up every time.
There's too much.
And they're like, well, why don't you get a donut that's jelly-filled? They do it with the jelly, too. I don't like dry... farmer donuts. My favorite donut is an angel cream, and they mess up the angel cream. You can't. There's too much of it.
I don't want to eat all of that.
So then I tried going to the Boston cream, and they have the equal amount of filling in each donut, no matter what the flavor is, and they mess it up. They really do, and everyone loves it, and they talk it up. And every time I eat it, I try to like it. And I'm just like, this just doesn't work for me.
It is tough to digest. I'll admit that.
It's very hard.
I tried one myself.
You get that gross, really sugary feeling in the bottom of your throat.
It is not fun.
It's repulsive.
Yeah, that's the one thing that actually Tim Hortons gets right. They have the right amount of filling
Tim Hortons
for
is
their
the perfect
Boston
amount
cream
of
donuts.
Yep, it is. I always go to Tim Hortons for donuts.
Well, we got to go to Dunkin', once we go to Boston in a couple of months.
Okay. Put that on the wish list. Properly filled Boston cream donuts.
Properly filled.
And angel cream. That'll be on our
Let's just put
list
donuts then. Properly filled donuts.
But let's talk about Allen Robinson here. Allen Robinson.
This is wild.
Allen Robinson is a guy that...
Now here's a guy.
Somebody's going to pay him. The Jaguars have till today to try to work out an extension. They didn't franchise tag him. It makes sense. He's coming off a torn ACL. He'd get paid top 5 money. Lars, like I said earlier, he's 16 months older than Calvin Ridley. That's it. And he's only played... I know he has 2 season-ending injuries in his 3 years of being a Jaguar, but he had a 1,400-yard season with 14 touchdowns.
With Blake Bortles as his quarterback.
And Nick Lippa, former WBNY sports director, he was debating me on this because he doesn't think a team should pay him a big deal in free agency.
But somebody will.
Somebody is going... I made the case he might sign a prove-it deal like Alshon Jeffrey did. Maybe
is this
1
like
year.
A Sammy Watkins type situation?
It's around the same. Both guys
Watkins is almost the same age, right?
Right. Yeah, they were in the same draft class too.
Yeah.
Both guys are probably going to consider signing prove-it deals like Alshon did. Robinson, someone's going to pay him. A San Fran, a Chicago, a Washington, maybe Buffalo. They're going to throw out, hey, we'll give you $13 million a year to come play for our team. And that'll pay him, top 8 receiver money, and that'll be great for him. Or he can... he's at his lowest value right now because he's coming off a torn ACL in week 1. He didn't play all of last year. So he's at his lowest market value that he probably will be at.
This is why you jump at it now.
You see how good players play in their contract year. I understand that, and he has 2 injuries, so he might want to cash in now. I'd proceed with caution because look at guys like Jeremy Maclin. When he had in his contract year, he had a 1,300-yard season, and Kansas City paid him big money. Alshon Jeffrey last year in Philadelphia, he signed a prove-it deal, a $14 million guaranteed 1-year deal. He got a contract mid-season, getting paid $13 to $15 million annually. So Robinson might want to bet on himself, have a big year in a good system for a year, maybe sign with a Green Bay. Not Green Bay because they have so many receivers, but just a QB-friendly offense just to boost his numbers and then go get paid next year. But if he does get paid long-term, I still love the idea. And look, Nick was talking about how Marquise Lee had equal production to... Did I just run over your foot with my roller chair?
Roll over my foot.
I am so sorry.
Oh.
What kind of shoes are you wearing right now?
Those are my Alfanis.
Those are very nice.
Thank you.
They're shiny, too. Do you have your shoes shined? You
Yeah.
do, don't you? I think you're the only person left on this earth that has their shoes shined. Or do you do the shoe shining yourself? That seems more likely.
Do I time jump to a younger me and he does my own shoes?
Maybe you own your own shoe shining business. Oh, that's wild. That's a paradox and a half. But I think, look, I would pay Robinson. I know it's a risk. It really is. But he's not Marquise Lee. Lippa thinks that he had one really good season and that he might not be worth it because in his third season with Bortles, he only had 861 yards and 6 touchdowns.
This is also the same franchise that had Gus Bradley as a head coach
Right.
and Blake Bortles
did you
as a
see
quarterback.
the decrease of Bortles from 2015 to 2016 was so substantial. And still, Robinson almost put up 900 yards and 6 touchdowns. That's still a pretty solid season with Blake Bortles.
And I want to look more compared to numbers. You got to look at how he plays.
Yeah.
You look at his size, you look at his weight, you look at his speed.
Mm-hmm.
Allen Robinson is an insanely talented wide receiver.
Yeah.
And look, I understand that he's coming off 2 injuries in back-to-back years, but if you're a team that needs a jump on offense and you got the room to do it, this is a guy you want.
And it's not like 2, it's...
Hell, I think Cleveland's in the running to get him.
Right, I could see that.
Cleveland's like, add everybody.
It's not... there's a lot of guys that'll have 1,000-yard season, surprisingly. Like, let's go back a long time ago to Braylon Edwards.
Oh, come on. This guy was in Cleveland.
he had his big, 1,300-yard season. Oh, he had 16 touchdowns, actually, too.
That was the year that Derek Anderson went bonkers.
Yeah.
And 16 of his 22 touchdowns came from Braylon Edwards.
And he was in Cleveland, and he played with Mark Sanchez, so it's not fair to say Braylon Edwards met his potential. I don't think that's really the case. There's a lot of guys that have fluky 1,000-yard seasons, but to me, not everyone just throws up in their sleep a 1,400-yard, 14-touchdown season.
You got to have some sort of talent.
Especially when you're only in your early 20s still, and you were injured last year, so you didn't really get to continue off your success in 15 and 16, and you have a horrible quarterback. You have a quarterback that decreased substantially his production. He had 35 touchdowns in 2015. And the stats, by the way, for Robinson, in a year Bortles went downhill quick. He still had 73 catches, 883 yards.
6 touchdowns.
And 6 TDs.
You're the highest wide receiver on the Buffalo Bills.
So he's comparing them to Marquise Lee, saying, outside of 1 year, he just put up Marquise Lee numbers. Like, no. He's only played 3 seasons, by the way. And he put up in Allen Robinson's you call it his down year, he still put up more than Marquise Lee ever has and ever will. To me, Robinson's an elite talent. I'm a big fan of his, and although it'd be more ideal to give him on a prove-it deal because he's had 2 big injuries already, he only appeared in 10 games in 2014, his rookie year. However,
and even look at that. The 8 games he started, he still had like 548 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's a solid season for a rookie.
It might be more ideal to sign him to a prove-it deal, but if I'm like the team like the Buffalo Bills, I'm still giving him a long-term deal because in between those 2 seasons, he started all 16 games twice. So that shows he can stay healthy.
And if anybody even wants to try to compare this to Sammy Watkins, they are wrong.
Yeah, it's a totally different situation.
Yeah.
So when you compare them, how are their situations different?
Sammy Watkins had a lot of nagging injuries. Yeah, he played games, but how effective was he?
So, is it fair? I don't think it's fair to put either as like an injury-prone guy, though.
No, because what happened to Allen Robinson was a freak injury.
Right. And what happened with Watkins was it was kind of like one injury that just never... It was kind of like Julio Jones a while ago, in 2014, he had that foot issue all the time, and they kept putting him on the field. Eventually, he just got the surgery and healed, and he's been dominant ever since. Mm-hmm. But Rex Ryan was trying to save his ass, and so he needed Sammy Watkins on the field to try to save his job, and so Watkins never really got to rehab that foot. So, and then you saw him fully healthy last year, and although he only put up 600 receiving yards in an offense that spread the ball around,
that's the difference.
He still had 8 touchdowns. He still showcased that elite.
You know why? He drew so much attention.
Yeah.
That he was allowing everybody else to get open.
Yeah, I'm paying both, honestly. And they're both extremely young.
It's like, do I want Sammy Watkins to come back to Buffalo? Maybe not.
I don't think he'll
because
want
how
to.
bad it ended.
Yeah, I don't think you have a shot at it.
I would say Allen Robinson.
Allen Robinson's 24. Sammy Watkins?
You can have him for another 8 years.
24. They're going to be in their prime still for another 8-9 years. That's it. And they've already played in 3 seasons each.
I would say Sammy Watkins going to Green Bay.
I could see
Allen Robinson's going to either 2 teams. For me, he's either going to Cleveland or Buffalo's going after him if they make a trade with Cordy Glenn.
Green Bay's invested a lot in the receiver position, though. I mean, oh my gosh. Randall Cobb is their second highest cap hit. Cobb is a $12 million cap hit, Nelson's a $12 million cap hit, and Devontae Adams is 10. That's $34 million invested in their receiving core. And honestly, they'd be better off getting rid of 2 of them and paying paying Sammy Watkins.
Right.
If they cut If they cut Randall Cobb, you save $10 million. That might be a sneaky cut candidate by Wednesday, is Randall Cobb. And you maybe...
Jordy Nelson's 32.
Maybe Jordy Nelson, too. Lars, the Packers could save $20 million by cutting Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb. And then they have $35 million space. You throw Watkins with Devontae Adams. I kind of like that. I think that's an upgrade for Aaron Rodgers. I don't know about you. But I kind of like that idea maybe a little better.
Especially if I'm Aaron Rodgers.
Randall Cobb is extremely overpaid. Maybe not, and if Watkins doesn't go there, you could go to Carolina with Cam Newton.
And this would be a move that would be rather surprising for the Packers of all teams, because they're a team that's very obsessed when it comes to keeping everybody intact.
Sometimes to a fault. They really like their own guys because Randall Cobb is, a prime example of that. He's paid far too much. Far too much. But look, I'm paying.
They're a loyalty type team.
Yeah, I don't think the Bills have a shot at Sammy Watkins just because of how it went down. But I'm going for Allen Robinson. With a young quarterback, that's one less position you need to draft. So if you give up picks, you can give Allen Robinson. You have cash space. I'm taking a shot, and I'm going to give him a lot of money.
I'd say for Buffalo, it's a weak wide receiver class. You still don't really have anybody with you. You got to get somebody.
I'm
because if you're going after Josh Rosen, you got to give him an incentive to have him feel motivated to play for this team. Because look, if the guy's throwing to Deontay Thompson, if he's throwing to Zay Jones or whoever they have,
look at Mitch Trubisky last year with Chicago. Who was he throwing to? Dontrell Inman.
Yeah.
You can't expect a quarterback to reach his full potential without playing.
Which is pretty funny when Deontay Thompson came to Buffalo. He actually played well.
And by the way, that allows Zay Jones to move into the slot, which is probably he's better suited in the slot anyway.
He
produced in the slot last year when Jordan Matthews went down.
Mm-hmm.
And you have Kelvin Benjamin for another year. You're probably not
Robinson and Benjamin.
That's what I'm saying, for a year.
Right
even if it's for just a year, and you decide you don't want to pay Benjamin after this season because his contract expires in the 2019 offseason, you still have a whole year of Robinson, Jones, and Benjamin with Clay and McCoy. That's a great first year for a rookie quarterback, and then you have a Robinson and
you got a Jones and you got a better defense.
Yeah, and you'll still have cap space. So
their secondary looks. I think their secondary is second in the NFL next to LA now.
Let's play a little GM game here, Lars. Okay. Let's kind of do a little Bills roster simulation. Currently, they stand at $34 million in cap space, 3.8 mil. Okay.
Wait, hold on. I want $40 million in cap space.
So we're going to trade Cordy Glenn, right? I think even if he doesn't, if it's not in like a package with the Giants, I think someone will trade him, trade for him for a low pick. So let's just hypothetically say we're going to trade Cordy Glenn to the Giants for
picks.
It's part of getting that second overall.
Yeah.
The Bills now have $39.7 million in cap space. All right, that's one move they can make. Right now, I don't think they need to even make any more roster decisions. The highest paid player they have is Jerry Hughes at 10.
And he's only at 10.
So we have pretty much $40 million in cap space. We're now going to sign some free agents, Lars. I'm going to bring in Allen Robinson, okay, at wide receiver. And how much money should we give him? Let's go to
like 12.
Over the cap. We're going to
give him like 12 and a half.
We're going to see how the highest paid receivers in the NFL are. SpotTrack actually even puts a value on free agents.
Really?
Yeah. So they like say what their market might be for these players, and according to SpotTrack, Allen Robinson would be looking at annually probably $13.5 million.
So let's give him 13.
So let's do that. Let's give him $13 million, which would put him right around top 7 money.
Yeah.
So we're gonna give Allen Robinson a $13.6 million deal. 13.6. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Nope, that's not it. There we go.
You can math.
There's 2 commas in million, right?
Yes.
I'm not a very good math guy. All right, perfect. Robinson has been signed at 13.5. The Bills still have $26 million in cap space with that big contract for Robinson.
And then following all the rookie deals, you probably still have what, about 20?
Yeah, and this is also top. This is like your entire team cap space.
This
so
including practice squad and all the other guys.
So you're going to actually have more because once it gets down to your 51-man roster, all those contracts go away.
Yeah.
So you have more space than it actually says.
So let's say a guy like 20.
Salary cap, dude, is so confusing. It's just they have it's easier to maneuver than people actually think.
Mm-hmm.
So another person on my wish list here, I think they sign Allen. I think they're gonna. I think it'd be great to get Allen Robinson. Nigel Bradham comes back to Buffalo. Instead of paying, who would you rather pay, Lars?
Again.
Would you rather pay Preston Brown $5 million, or would you rather give Nigel Bradham $6 to $7 million a year? I mean, look how good Bradham was when Hicks went down last year for the Eagles, and he took over at middle linebacker.
Louis, can I ask you something?
He can cover in space too.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, you can absolutely ask me something.
Do you honestly know what is a loaded question? Because you just asked me that. So yes, I'm taking Nigel Bradham.
Yeah. I mean,
that's a loaded question, sir.
The value of Bradham at 6 or 7.
Your Philly is showing right now really hard.
The value of Bradham at 6 or 7 is so much. It's light years better than Preston Brown at $5 million. So
facts.
Let's say Nigel Bradham comes back.
Preston Brown is not a bad player.
No, he's a good player, but
Nigel Bradham is I put it like a top 10 linebacker.
Nigel Bradham can cover. He's incredible in the run game. Bradham is overall one of the best inside linebackers in the NFL.
I want Nigel Bradham.
And he's 28, so you probably want to front load his contract
back.
But guess what? You bring Bradham back, so now you added two of your bigger needs, inside linebacker and receiver.
I think he would fit well with McDermott.
Lars, you still have $19.6 million in cap space.
What am I going to do with all this money?
You have all this money. They're not paying anybody. So now you're looking at a roster of potentially a rookie quarterback. And a lot of this money might go towards a quarterback. So you might give like 16 of this to Bradford. And then you still have $3 million. That might be the last move they make. So
let's add this then. So add Josh McCown to a 1-year, $8 million deal.
We're going to add Josh McCown.
Yeah.
Who was on the Jets last year.
Let's add Josh McCown onto that. Like a 1-year, maybe even like $6 to $7 million. Let's try like 7.
Yeah, I think. Is that underpaid for McCown?
Let's give him 8.5.
I mean, Mike Glennon got 15 last year. Let's give him 13.
But McCown's also 38.
That's very true. We'll give him 11.
11?
Yeah.
How much did the Jets pay him?
Let's
ask that question. How much did Josh McCown get paid from the Jets to get that? Because I think Buffalo can match whatever the Jets gave him. Because right now, Josh McCown knows he's 38 years old. He can only get 1-year deals because of his age, but he can still command some good money because last year he had what? He had 18 touchdowns, 8 interceptions.
Yeah.
And that was before he got hurt, and that was with that team. Josh McCown was balling last year.
McCown's contract last year was $7 million.
You could pay him. Let's pay him like 9.
All right, we'll give McCown $9 million.
Let's give him 9. Let's say he earns an extra $2 million because of his play last year.
The Bills are interested in Bradford. So
McCown.
I know. Let's just hypothetically say it's Bradford, and that might be the last move here. So they might make 2 big signings like Robinson and Bradham, and then that out of that 19 mil, the last 13 of it, or the last 17 of the 19 will go to a quarterback, and then you have $2 million left to roll over next year.
Because you're going to pay a lot of money to get Rosen, but the max rookie deal.
We're playing GM right now, so the better idea is paying Josh McCown for $9 million. You still have 10.6.
Yep.
So, you filled a bridge quarterback, you have a rookie, you have draft picks, you have now a really good inside linebacker to replace Brown, you have a receiving core of Allen Robinson, Kelvin Benjamin, Zay Jones, and Charles Clay.
You can draft a right guard.
And you still have wiggle room. You can draft a guard. There's some good free agents too, and guards you can get for, $6 million. I think the Bills are in a good spot. I really do.
With this roster, they could come. Yeah. They could go to the playoffs next year.
Oh, I agree.
With that roster, it's an absolute upgrade.
It would be, and look, let's say they don't sign a quarterback at all, right? Let's say they go for a Rosen, and they just want to start Rosen. Yeah. Your lineup next year could be looking like Josh Rosen throwing to Allen Robinson, Kelvin Benjamin, Zay Jones, Charles Clay, LaShawn McCoy in the backfield. Your defense, hopefully you upgrade pass rusher. You got Nigel Bradham now.
I think you'll do that through the draft.
Right. Vontae Davis.
At the corner.
A great secondary now.
You finally got someone paired with Tre'Davious White.
That's a lot of talent now suddenly,
Their safeties might be the best in football.
And by the way, you still have around $11 million in cap space. Maybe you want to take a shot on a Paul Richardson or a John Brown. A deep threat. You need some speed. Robinson's great down the field. He is one of the most efficient receivers down the field. But you're probably not using Deontay Thompson next year. Benjamin and Zay Jones are pretty slow.
See, this is where I might disagree. I would keep Deontay Thompson.
Really?
He comes super cheap.
That's true.
And on top of that,
cheaper alternative to a Paul Richardson.
Yeah, and I saw what Deontay Thompson can do. When he was throwing the ball, he caught it.
That's true.
I'd say I give him another shot.
Yeah, I just mean
you use him as a 4,
and then as a 4,
there's worse 4s in the world than Deontay Thompson.
So yeah, if you don't,
I don't think they would need to get another wide receiver.
I think if they signed a big name like Allen Robinson, they wouldn't go for a Paul Richardson or John Brown. Because they do have a Deontay Thompson.
I think Deontay Thompson can fill that role.
Right. If they do want to put their money towards other things that aren't receivers, a cheaper alternative would be a Paul Richardson.
Then you would look towards the interior with the line, with offense and defensive line.
So if you don't pay a Robinson and you want to pay offensive line, I'd go for a guy like Paul Richardson, though. Last year, 703 yards and 6 touchdowns, averaging 16 yards a catch. That's like Deshaun Jackson range, who a lot of people compared him to coming out of Colorado. So there's some value deals, too, here if you don't want Robinson. But, man, Lars, that's an elite talent. Even though Kelvin Benjamin was a first-round pick, that's not elite talent. I know there's risk with
Allen Robinson is Kelvin Benjamin with speed.
He has star power. Robinson, by the way, And what's the big thing the Bills need a receiver? It's down the field ability,
stretching
right?
the field.
It's speed and it's stretching the field.
That was their problem last year. The field was so constricted.
Deep receiving yards by a wide receiver from 2006 to 2017. Allen Robinson in 2015 had the most with 672.
He's over
according
Calvin
to PFF.
Johnson.
Over Calvin Johnson, over Jordy Nelson. Over that 2007 Randy Moss year.
I mean, mind you, that was triple covered Calvin Johnson, but nonetheless.
I'm going for him, man. And
I want it. I want it.
I just
don't understand why Nick Lippa was being so adamant as to why they shouldn't get him.
He doesn't think the money. He's concerned that there was 2 years of injuries. Also, he wasn't very impressed with his 2016 season. I don't agree. If you go to the film room and you look at some of the route running,
he's got Blake Bortles throwing him the football.
And he still put up almost 900 yards and 6 touchdowns. I don't agree with that. He just doesn't think it's worth paying him elite money.
If I got Josh Rosen throwing this guy the football, this guy's going to average at least 1,200 yards a season.
And he was saying that Alshon deserved it more than Robinson. Look, I love Alshon Jeffrey, but honestly, I think Allen Robinson's a better receiver. And he's in the same kind of boat that Jeffrey was. Why did Alshon deserve... Minnesota last year went to him for a long-term extension. So did Indianapolis. He just decided to go to the Eagles, with a winning situation, a better quarterback. But Alshon last year shouldn't have got commanded. I mean, the numbers, Lippa's just going towards the numbers and the injuries. Alshon was always injured. He was suspended last year, but...
Didn't he get 4 games?
Yeah, he got 4 games, and he was always injured throughout his career in Chicago. He only really had 1 big year or 2, but you knew on the film that he had elite talent, like Robinson, but he was in a Chicago situation that had shitty quarterback situations every single year.
Yeah, John Fox is a head
coach.
His best quarterback ever throwing to him,
his best quarterback ever throwing to him was probably Josh McCown. It was Jay Cutler, Josh McCown, Matt Barkley, Caleb Haney.
Here's Josh McCown
again. So
the guy could play with bad teams.
And Alshon signed a prove-it deal and it worked out, but I would have been fine with the Eagles signing him to a long-term deal because it worked, and talent is talent, and you know it when you see it.
You're right.
And sometimes it's just the eye test, and you just see star power with Allen Robinson. And, man, I don't know if he would want to come to the Bills because, although they made the playoffs last year,
I think he would if Josh Rosen's here.
Yeah.
And they know all the draft picks that they have.
The reason the Eagles got Alshon was because of Carson Wentz. A lot of the time receivers want to go to situations with good quarterback play. So
Buffalo's had dormant.
The Bills don't have that, but Robinson could see, hey, I got McCoy. They have all these picks. He should.
Kelvin
if he's smart, he should know they're going for a quarterback that he can build with. That's going to be an upgrade over Bortles, and the Bills might.
It also helps that they were a playoff team last year.
Yeah, so the Bills might be a nice situation.
Now, how about this? Imagine thinking this team had the last ranked passing offense in the NFL, and they still made the playoffs.
Yeah.
Now imagine if I'm there and they got Josh Rosen. Bang! They got something.
What's a better situation, that or signing in Chicago?
New England's not lasting forever.
That's true, too.
They're not going to last forever.
And clearly Miami...
The Jets are still in rebuild
Miami
mode.
can't handle running a team.
Miami's a mess. The Patriots, at some point, are going to eventually fall.
I hear the doubt in your voice when you say that. You were trying to convince yourself. That's why you went so strong on that point, because you didn't buy what you had said. And I know you're right. You're going to be right eventually, but hell, we've been saying that since 2005, you know?
And they're still going. And they almost won the Super Bowl again.
And they still almost won the Super Bowl.
Tom Brady is 40 years old. This is defying any sort of logic that has ever existed. At 40 years old, and he's the MVP of the league.
Yep.
And it took a superhuman effort from Nick Foles, of all guys, to win the Super Bowl against New England. And the Patriots still had a shot to force overtime in the last play of the game. What do you honestly have to do to take these guys out?
Yeah.
It took every freaking play in the book for Doug Peterson to beat that team. Doug Peterson took gambles that even the most experienced gambler in Vegas would shy away from.
Mm-hmm.
And it still almost didn't work.
Yeah.
But at some point it has to end. It has to end.
It will yeah, you're right. And it's coming soon, but when is soon? I'm not predicting.
I don't know.
What's a better situation for Robinson? A team like Chicago that needs receivers, or is it Buffalo, right? It's Buffalo.
Yeah.
What's a better situation? You know, the one that might poach him? San Fran. They got a lot of cap space. They just paid Sherman. Jimmy G is an upcoming QB.
There you go.
Kyle Shanahan's offense is wide.
See what happens when he actually had a quarterback?
Look what Marquise Goodwin did last year. Goodwin almost had 1,000 yards last season, and he got paid this year.
What?
So, you know, maybe Robinson wants to go to San Fran, but outside of that, where else? I mean, Carolina. That's a good situation, too. I'd probably say there's maybe two better spots that are serious for Robinson than Buffalo.
Cleveland.
And Cleveland, but you want to be with Gordon and Landry? Are you going to be able to get paid?
See, that's the thing. He's going to get paid, but how many reps is he going to get with all those other guys they got to feed?
Exactly.
And their quarterback situation isn't really all that greater compared to Buffalo.
No.
Because now they got Buffalo's quarterback, and then they still actually don't have the guy from the draft yet, while Buffalo has got a direction in who they want.
Washington reportedly will be interested in Robinson. Would you want to play with Alex Smith? You know, at least with the Bills, you know they're not settled on the quarterback and that they're looking for the next,
the big one.
Goff, Wentz, the big one. The big fish. They're looking for the next Mariota, the next Andrew Luck. They're looking for the golden goose. Would you rather take a chance on that, or do you want to settle for Bortles, Alex Smith? You know,
guys that you know.
Yeah.
That you know are not going to really turn you into a superstar.
The only better situations are Carolina and San Francisco, and that's it. So I think the Bills have a legitimate chance at Robinson if they want him.
At San Francisco, yes. They got Jimmy G. They got some talent, but I think they're not there yet. And if I'm Allen Robinson, do I want to play the Rams twice a year? Do I want to play Seattle twice a year? Do I want to play Arizona? We don't know what the hell they are.
Right.
But I would rather play with Buffalo knowing that I have a chance against the Jets and the Dolphins. And, yes, are the Patriots still the dominant force in the AFC? Absolutely. But at some point they're going to fall. The Rams, they might be good for a long time with what they got. They got a young Goff, they got a young Gurley, they've got a dynamic receiving core now. They have a superhuman defense now. Do you want to go up against that for the next 7 to 10 years?
Right.
No. Buffalo can be the next team in the AFC East. They're set up for when New England eventually, I keep doubting myself when I say this, when they eventually fall, Buffalo's the team then.
Buffalo is the team. It's going to be fun. Lars, I'm so excited for free agency.
I don't want to play in the NFC. You see all those teams out there? No way. I got a much easier route to the Super Bowl in the AFC.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, look at the team he was on last year. He wasn't even playing, and the Jaguars made the AFC Championship with Blake frickin' Bortles.
So your wish list is Allen Robinson. I think we're pretty much equal on this. We both want we want a star receiver. We want Nigel Bradham. You know, a really good inside linebacker, a really good receiver, guard help that's maybe, you know, it's not going to be a big signing.
They can draft one.
Yeah, underrated guard help. And then, you know, I don't think they're going to need a bridge quarterback, but if they do, hell, I really like the idea of a Josh McCown, or I don't want A.J. McCarron because I think even he's asking way too much for for what he is.
Get an older guy.
Or maybe Bridgewater, in case.
But Bridgewater wants to be I think he would want to be the guy.
But
that wouldn't make sense for Buffalo.
It wouldn't make sense if you're going to trade up, and I think it's inevitable that they're going to at this point. But it would be nice insurance if they just can't get up there, and they still have a shot though at the only potential franchise quarterback in free agency, in my opinion, is Teddy. And if you still, the good thing with signing Bridgewater is, if you do still trade up, odds are you only sign Bridgewater a 1-year deal anyway. You can just let him walk after the year.
Yeah.
After the year's up. So and if he plays really well, you can maybe trade him.
So let's tidy it up. Here's
up.
Lars's Christmas list.
Yep.
I want the
Christmas in March.
I want the Rosen one. I want Allen Robinson. I want Nigel Bradham back, and I want an underrated right guard. And I want Cordy Glenn to go to the Giants, which would probably happen if they get the Rosen one.
Mm-hmm.
So that would fulfill all of my wishes.
I want them to sign Allen Robinson. I want them to get Nigel Bradham. And I think that they should be very, very conservative in their quarterback search. Very, very conservative.
Oh, boy. Jason Peters went full Rex.
Jason Peters decked out a pickup truck.
His face is on the back window with the Super Bowl.
That's awesome.
Oh, my God.
I wish I had that kind of money, Lars, where I could just deck out a pickup truck like that.
You and money could get very dangerous.
Quick little breaking news before the podcast ends. Tamba Ali released by the Kansas City Chiefs.
The
Chiefs
rebuild.
Continue their rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And also, that's another team off the list for Allen Robinson to think, okay, who can contend with the Bills for the next couple of years? KC's not in that situation now.
Other quick NFL news, according to Ian Rappaport, Orlando Scandrick has requested his release from the Cowboys. The long-tenured corner will be on the move. So, those are the first two moves currently, right now, and officially underway in the NFL season. What are you showing?
Total number of draft picks. The only playoff team that are in the green when it comes to draft picks are the Bills.
And they're going to probably use them, Lars.
Uh-huh.
They're gunning for it. The writing's on the wall. Everything they're doing is saying we're going for. I know they said, they've been trying to lower expectations just in case, but trading Tyrod, collecting all the picks, wanting a Bradford, it's all on the wall. They're just coming out and saying it. Like, everything we're doing is about the quarterback, and I love it. And I talked about how, it'd be nicer if they were just picking down there and they had all these picks to build around the young quarterback. But they might not even have to give up the farm. I hate saying that word because I think it's an overstated thing, considering the Rams, when they traded the farm getting out of the pick 2, it didn't work. None of the guys left on their roster from that RG3 trade are still there, and they made the playoffs 0 times with that regime. I don't count last year because they were all like side parts of it. So it's all about the quarterback. They might not have to give up a whole lot, and I really like the situation they're in now. It's a lot more encouraging, and I think they could get, even if they don't get Rosen or Darnold, they have the compensation to get one of the top 4, and that's huge. And I can't wait to see what they do in free agency. They have a lot of cap space. We'll continue our coverage here at WBNY Sports. Follow us on Twitter. For Lars, it's at LarsLewis12.
See.
For me, at DB Sports Talk. This podcast and all our pods are up at iTunes or at podbean.com and the WBNY Sports Podcast Network. Feel free to subscribe, rate, comment. Also, every Monday from 4 to 7 p.m., it's the Buffalo Blitz on 91.3 FM WBNY or the TuneIn app. So, for Lars Lewis, this is Lou DiBiase signing off. This has been the Blitz Podcast on the WBNY Sports Podcast Network.
Goodbye, everybody.